So, buying an old motorcycle can be a real risk, but if you buy a good one, the enjoyment value is pretty much limitless. And when you compare these bikes of the 90s to more modern offerings, the experience is pretty much second to none, and you're doing it on the cheap. But of course, these bikes do have a limited lifespan. So how can you keep on enjoying these bikes for longer? And maybe even when you decide to part ways with it, how the next person can start enjoying it as well. Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. We're going to jump on the ZX9R, we're going to go for a ride, and I'm going to give you just a few of the things that I'm doing to this motorcycle to try and keep it living as long as possible, because I do actually intend to sell this motorcycle at some point. So I want to keep it running, and I want to keep on enjoying it and doing more videos for you guys. So let's jump on, let's go. Yeah, you probably hear it in my voice. Whenever we've done a video on this motorcycle in the past, you can just tell how excited I get to ride it, how much of a good experience it really is riding the ZX9R. It's absolutely fantastic, and I can't believe that I'm saying that about a motorcycle that is 24 years old. This is a 1999 Kawasaki ZX9R. 24 years old. It kind of just makes you wonder why so many people spend the amount of money they do on motorcycles when you can get one that is still really damn good for pretty damn cheap. This motorcycle cost me £1,500. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go and check it out. Kind of like the experience that I had buying this bike. Because I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into, and this is the channel motorcycle in effect. Despite the fact that we've got the ZH2, we've got the ZX14, ZR 1400, and of course the Wifey's Ninja 125, this is the motorcycle that we bought using earnings from YouTube. So it's a very special bike, this. But man, no, what an experience. This thing just keeps on surprising me, despite the fact that it's 24 years old. Alright, I know I keep saying that, but anyway, let's discuss how we can increase the lifespan of these bikes, because there are a lot of them out there. A lot of them run really good. They have MOTs, they are still in use to this day. But how can you keep them that way? How can you keep them on the road? How can you keep them running? Right, the very first thing that you need to do with these bikes is keep them going. Keep riding them. Don't store them in your garage and leave them there to rot, to fester, right? They're not going to do any good if they are sitting in a garage. Too many bikes just end up getting forgotten about and left in garages. If you are losing interest, then just sell it. Sell it whilst it's still good, whilst you know it's still in good condition. The amount of motorcycles that I've looked at that where owners have said, oh yeah, it was running great, but then I put it away in the garage and all of a sudden it stopped working after a year or something like that, you know? Motorcycles, as do old cars, have to be kept running. You've got to keep running them to keep them going. If you don't, that's when their lifespan is going to shorten. Yeah? This bike actually hasn't been ridden that much. It's got nearly 36,000 miles on it. 1,000 of those miles were just me in, what, the 3 months, 2 or 3 months that I've owned this motorcycle, right? That was just me. And when you work it out, 35,000 miles or 36,000 miles over 24 years, that's not a lot of mileage. That's, gosh, bloody hell, £1,500 a year, £1,000, 1,500 miles per year, something like that. It really isn't a lot when you think about it. So this motorcycle probably has been neglected, and I know for a fact that it's been stored outside for a lengthy period of time because the paint on the tank has faded a little bit from the sun. It's got sun fade, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring that back, but you've got to keep the bikes moving, got to keep the bikes going. Store them indoors as well. If you ever get a chance, store them indoors. These bikes, if you look after them, they will keep on going. They'll keep on going for a long time yet. So if you do things like store your bikes outside, then just expect just expect it not to last as long as it probably would do. Right? The environment is not good for these things, and if you keep them outside all the time, 24/7, it's just gonna ruin them. It's gonna eat them up. Right? All that rain, all that wind, all the cold air, hot air, you know, as it fluctuates, it's going to have an impact on loads of parts of the bike. The rubbers, the plastics, and even the metals are going to suffer. Alright? So keep doing it. Alright? Keep riding it and store it indoors wherever you can, or at least try and put a cover on it. Yeah, if you have to store it outside, put a cover on it and keep it, make sure it's a good cover. Yeah? Alright, try and keep it as dry as possible. I think that's the main thing, is keeping out the rain more than anything else. But that's what I do. I don't have enough room to store this bike indoors in a garage, so instead I've got a cover for it, which I put on it every day. Every day, whenever I get home, it's got a cover on it. But the next thing is service the bikes. So many people, they'll buy something old and they think, oh, it'll be alright, it's just old, I'll thrash it about till it dies. But a lot of people don't realise that actually it has a lot of life left in it if you change the oil. Right? If you service it every 6 months, and it will last you a hell of a long time. A lot longer than you might have expected. Otherwise, just do it every year. Do that oil changes. Whatever you do, if you do anything, do the oil changes. Right? Yes, there are going to be some times where you might have to spend some money getting this bike fixed, getting it working properly. Right? Sometimes there's no choice there. But if you do those oil changes every year, every 5,000 miles, every year, right? The issues that you're going to have with the bike, more often than not, are going to be pretty much superficial. Yeah, they're not going to be the worst things to happen to a motorcycle. If you don't change the oil, that is when bad things start happening to the bike. So make sure you do those oil changes, keep them up, keep up to date with them. With these old bikes, honestly, they need it. They need it more than the newer stuff, right? Because everything wears out over time. But the more you look after it, the more you do those oil changes, the less wear it has over time, yeah? So make sure you do it. Make sure you keep up with those oil changes. It's a no-brainer, and they're really easy to do yourself. I've demonstrated before that you can do oil changes yourself for less than £50, less than 50 quid. Right, and probably less than $50 if you live in the United States, right? 50, that's it, and you're done for the year, right? A tank of fuel these days for your car will cost you more than an oil change on your bike, right? So if you're prepared to pay for a tank of fuel in your car every single month, then you should be able to find 50 quid spare to do an oil and filter change, right? Really, really straightforward and easy. If you want to know how to do it, we've got a video about it on the ZX9R and all the other bikes as well. Alright, so go and check them out. This one might be pretty obvious to some people, but actually the amount of people that do this on old bikes, I feel like I have to mention it. But don't redline it. Don't redline the bike. The more you do that, the more the engine wears out. So don't redline it. Go as close as you like to redline, 11, 12,000 RPM. Not a problem. Even 12,500 RPM on this motorcycle probably won't be a problem. But if you're bouncing it off the limiter every single time you get out and ride, the bike will only have a limited time left in this life, right? So please make sure that you don't redline the bike. If you do it every once in a while and it's an accident, then don't worry about it. That's not a problem. That's absolutely fine. But if you're doing it deliberately and you're doing it all the time, it's not going to last. Yeah, the more revs you give an engine, the more it wears out. Simple as that. Because all the parts are having to move faster. They're having to wear quicker, right? So it stands to reason. If you want the bike to last as long as possible, don't redline it. Again, it all kind of falls under this whole idea of looking after the bike. Yeah, if you don't redline the bike, then it's another thing that will keep the bike moving, keep the bike going for longer, right? So don't do that, keep up with the maintenance, and you're gonna have one hell of a time with this bike. Alright, so the next one that we've got is keep the bike clean. You'd be surprised at how much a motorcycle deteriorates when it's dirty. When things like the chain are dirty, it lowers the lifespan of the chain. When things are dirty on the bike, they will not last as long. So keep the bike clean. Just clean it every couple of months, all right? Give it a spray down and a clean every couple of months. You shouldn't have too many problems with it being dirty at that point, all right? I am very guilty of not cleaning my bikes when I should, right? It's easily done, right? When you've got a busy life and all you want to do is enjoy the bike, sometimes you forget that you need to just do the basics. Do the basics. The cleaning of it is a very basic thing to do, all right? So keep it up. You've got to keep the bikes clean. Trust me, they will reward you, right? They will keep on running. They will reward you if you keep them clean. I can't remember where I am. So don't look at one of these old bikes and think, oh, I'm just going to run it till it dies. Don't think of it like that. Imagine you selling the bike afterwards, after you've owned it, after you've had the experiences you've wanted with it. Imagine when you buy it, imagine selling it later on down the line, because then that will motivate you to keep looking after it. Sometimes a motorcycle is going to be so worn out that it will just break. Oh God, pheasants, oh dear. Oh, you bastards! Sometimes that's going to happen, yeah? But not always. You'd be surprised how many of these bikes will live a long and full life if you look after them. Most motorcycles should be able to make it to at least 50,000 miles. Some will even go on to 100,000 miles or more, yeah? I mean, especially if you do the mileage and it's not a very old bike, then mileage isn't such a big deal. It's the combination of mileage and age that kills a motorcycle, that kills cars as well, in fact. Yeah. So keep using it. Oh God, there's more of them. Bloody hell. Go on then, off you go. They're such dumb birds. So keep using it and keep it in as good a condition as you possibly can, so that when you do come to sell it, it has value. You will get some of that money back that you invested in this bike. You will get some of it back. So you'll have a reward at the end for looking after the old bike. Yeah, it's honestly, this is one of those experiences that has really opened my eyes to what other motorcycles are out there from the 90s. 90s, 80s even. Some 70s, for God's sake. You just... There's so many motorcycles out there to experience, and I really do want to try and get my hands on as many of these bikes as possible and enjoy them. Because let's be honest here, we wouldn't have any of the modern bikes that we do these days, the bikes that we almost take for granted, if it weren't for the old bikes, if it weren't for this ZX9R, if it weren't for the old Fireblades, you know, we wouldn't have the bikes that we've got today. So, and then when you ride these bikes, you realize where the more modern bike's heritage came from. The inspiration behind these bikes, you understand. And that's why a lot of these old bikes still have a lot to offer, despite the fact they're really old. Actually, the experience that you get from these things is very, very similar to what you'd get on a more modern one. Yeah, okay, it doesn't have fuel injection. Yeah, alright, it doesn't have tech gizmos or what have you. But the main thing is that they both do the same thing. They ride, right? A modern bike rides pretty much the same way as an old bike does. That kind of experience is second to none. Honestly. People forget that old bikes, especially ones from the 90s, were revolutionary in a lot of ways. And a lot of them still have really good levels of performance, all right? This motorcycle has 150 horsepower, 100, I don't know, 20, 30 Newton meters of torque, something like that. This is no slouch of a motorcycle. This was the top end of performance that you could get in the late 90s. These kinds of bikes. They were the best. Just stands to reason, guys, that these bikes, no one should forget about them. No one should just let them go down by the wayside. These are modern classics, or well, excuse me, I shouldn't say modern. These are classics. Yeah, absolutely wicked. I love this bike. And it wants to go. You can tell it wants to give you the best experience possible. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. What a wonderful experience. Anyway, guys and gals, thank you ever so much for joining me all the way to the end on today's ride. And if you're looking to get involved in motorcycles and you want a motorcycle like this, one that is more performance oriented, but you don't quite have the budget for a newer one, don't be afraid to look at some of the older stuff. The older stuff will do you good, I promise you. All right, so don't knock them before you try them. Anyway, everyone, thank you ever so much for watching. If you like this video has helped you out, if it's been informative, then hit that like button, get subscribed, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future uploads on the ZX9R and the other bikes that we've got, because they are all absolutely awesome, wicked. You don't want to miss any of the videos that we've got on these bikes. And we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Ride safe.